For many of us, this video is highly charged. Just take a minute to check in with yourself about how it's left you feeling. What are your emotions? What were some of the most evocative scenes? Think about it for a moment. Thanks for taking the time to think and note your feelings. And I'm sure that many of you have already made similar kinds of comments to what I'm going to add here. I offer them in support of your already good thought. We should begin by noting that although this was a highly controversial experiment at the time and would probably not be allowed to be conducted today, the students said that this was the most powerful lesson in all their years of schooling. In the film, we see plenty of evidence about the ways that oppressive power and white power can quickly operate in the classroom setting. It's the exercise of oppressive power and white power that give rise to internalized oppression and superiority. Internalized oppression and internalized superiority are some of the most deeply entrenched elements of racism. And note that in the film of the 16 children, 8 had blue eyes and 8 had green or brown. The green eyes got lumped in with the brown eyes. And then among many of the things to discuss about this dynamic is that as far as biology is concerned, race is indeed an arbitrary system of classification. And we should also note briefly the many reactions to the resistance that took place. Later on, Jane Elliott had the students pair up to dance. Given an odd number of students, one was absent that day, Brian Salto, the resistor, is the one left out. He had to dance with the teacher. More seriously, Jane Elliott and her family felt the retaliation of the local community as she continued to challenge racism, and they eventually left the area. I'd now like to say a few quick words about what my colleagues and I have learned about these two forms of internalization. My colleagues of color have noted the following about the dynamics of internalized racist oppression. It is, they say, believing the lie. The internalization of racist oppression is believing the lie that you are not as good as white people. It has many aspects. Cultural aspects include that people of color act out internalized racist oppression when they cooperate with the destruction, discounting, and loss of their cultures. It can take the form of accepting white standards of beauty, white standards of worship styles, arts, etc. My colleagues tell me that sometimes they do not even believe their own cultural understandings are valid. And there are individual aspects as well. Internalized racist oppression is expressed in individuals when people accept a distorted image of who they are, when they believe that they are less than white people and act that out in their lives. Institutional aspects, those are those instances when people of color work for institutions that are overtly oppressing other people of color, whether Mexican Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and by doing so, protect white people and institutions. And there are systemic manifestations as well. We also can see internalized racist oppression becoming a systemic cycle when it's repeated over and over again. Now let's stop for some responses.